This is Karen with NewClevelandRadio.net, and it is time for K-Yaks with Ken Ludmer. And Ken, last week we were answering questions from different listeners, and we put out another call, and we didn't get a lot of response. So one of the things I want to say to those people listening, we all have questions, and where can you get free advice from a therapist? We can't do that very often. And, even if your question is very simple, write it in, contact us, be part of the show, because, therapy costs a lot of money. And if we were paying Ken to answer some of our questions, many of us wouldn't have enough money. So, Ken, I know you got some people who responded to you, so give us an idea of what people are going through today.
Well, let me first talk about my mailman that brought the tons of mail to the apartment house. He was complaining that the whole bag was full of all my questions, all 5 of them. So, but they were big. They were big questions. So at least I'm getting some response on my end, and that felt pretty good. So I'll just read out the question that was sent in as it was, and we'll take it from there. Okay? A parent wrote in and said, "I have tried everything with my kid. Nothing works. Please help."
Wow.
How many times did I hear that in my practice?
Right.
I've tried everything, and which means everything that they're trying isn't working. Or it means, what I think it really means, is they tried something and didn't stick with it long enough. A lot of times when I actually get into it and find out, well, what is it that I tell the kids, pick up your stuff after you're done playing and put it in the toy box and leave. The room is not just yours, this is the living room, and I come in and, husband's due home soon. He's going to scream and yell with the toys all over the place. So, the kids don't do it. So I pick it up and I put them in there, and the next time, well, that doesn't work. I mean, if you're telling them one thing and then you don't follow through, and then you wind up for your own because you can't stand the mess or you can't stand being yelled at by your husband, then you're enabling the children to not have to do any work. And so therefore she'll try something else. Then she'll say, okay, well, you get extra dessert if you do your stuff. Well, that may work, but you'll have a 220-pound kid, So, you can't use food as you shouldn't anyway. You should never punish a child and take away their food, or you never should reward them with food. There are special times where you go out as a family or whatever for a treat, but not as a daily event. The guideline here is don't use food. So with this idea that I've tried everything, what I say is simplify it. Have one rule and follow through. And how do you follow through? There's consequences. Either they obey what you said and follow if the guideline is reasonable within this world, like pick up your toys when you're done, means if you don't, no toys tomorrow. And when they whine and cry tomorrow, you say, remember yesterday when you didn't pick up your toys. You have to learn that there are consequences for how you act. If you would have just put it away, you would have had a lot of fun playing with your toys today. So you have to follow through. You have to have, parents usually have trouble with the consequences. They're either too minimal or too much. The punishment has to match the crime. And there's a real skill in that. And if you ask parents that had 3 or 4 kids, they did better with kid number 2 and 3 and 4 than they did with the first one. Because in the first one, they feel guilty when they punish. They don't want to deprive the child. They, oh, kid's crying. I made them unhappy. No, you didn't make them unhappy. They made themselves unhappy because they didn't listen to generally normal guidelines. So what I usually say is, pick something that you think is reasonable, run it past me. We'll agree or disagree on the severity, and when we come to a conclusion, then you follow that and follow up with a consequence. And do that and don't relent. If you said no toys the next day, that means the whole 24 hours. So that after 2 hours, when they're badgering you, pulling on you like, mommy, please, mommy, please, mommy, please, and you have something else to do, and you say, well, I can't take it anymore. I'll give the kid the toy. And many, many parents who have other responsibilities in their adult life and they need some time to be fine if the kid was in the room playing with toys. And it's tougher for them if they're not. But you're playing a long game here. You're not playing a short game. And if you keep doing the short end thing just to get through today so you can have peace of mind for an hour and you give the kid the toy, you've lost. Many parents say, well, should I take the toy away after I'm done? And no, that's a double message. Double message. You can't have it here. You can have it, but now you can't have it. And so, do one thing and stick to it.
Absolutely.
So that's generally the rule about I've tried everything. The other problem with that is what is the other spouse doing? Because if you've tried everything, they'll just wait you out they know they can beat the husband, or they know they can beat daddy. They'll get it from mommy when daddy's not here. And so kids are very smart in terms of that. They know how to defeat you. And if you have a break in the middle, the kid's most famous game is, split the middle, two against
absolutely.
one. You line up with one parent against the other parent. And mommy lets me do it, and you're mean. I'm not mean. Yes, you are. And then mommy's in the back. Well, you can be a little bit harsh, And there you go. The kid is one. The kid smiles, And then I've asked many kids, with the parents out of the room, well, how do you do it? Oh, it's easy.
Well, isn't it interesting that I know my generation of parenting was totally different than my parents. My parents would send me to my room and I could yell and scream and they would basically ignore me. Okay. Yet when I was bringing up my boys, if I sent them to the room and they were yelling and screaming, I still heard it. It was hurting me as much as I wanted to be, the one in charge. And a lot of times I allowed them to be in charge because I wanted their crying to stop. So what do you think has happened over the generations that, we tend to give into our kids more than our parents did?
Well, I think we've had a proliferation of books on parenting, and you can read until you find what you want to hear. And I think that there's all kinds, from spare the rod and spoil the child on down. I mean, do you hit kids? No, you shouldn't hit kids. But I said to parents once, I said, there may come a day that you will have to hit your child. That if they are so out of control, if they are so unwilling that your threats are useless, what you do is you hit them on the backside once, and they will be shocked that you actually did it. And from that point on, you've established your line. So now that doesn't mean you hit them every day. It means you refer to the day that you had to hit them and say, you're now getting close to the line. Remember, I will do it. I don't want to do it, but it's on you if I do it. And we're getting close. So you better back off, go to your room, compose yourself, come back here, and we'll talk about it. So once you've established that line with parents, I've known parents that said, that worked. I hit him once when he was 6. I haven't had to hit him since. I said, well, it doesn't sound right, telling parents to hit your kid, but at some point in time, it's a line of authority, and you're still the authority. The red light means it's still a red light. You're not going to let your kid run across the street on the red light because he's defying you. You know, you're going to grab him by the arm at that point and stop him from running across the street. There's many times you physically have to intervene where a child's in danger. You know, they're approaching the socket plug with the knife, and so you have to intervene. So I always believe that you do it, and it has to be the absolute right time and the right way, and then you can back off and you've established your line. That's a difficult one because a lot of times parents parent out of anger, frustration, etc.
Right.
It's the worst thing you can do. Worst thing you can do. You have to be under control before you administer any discipline, any punishment, anything, because you're going to say stuff and you're going to have to take it back, and then you've just eroded your own base. So I think a lot of those things build up to why things don't work, why you can change course midstream, try something else, because it's got to do with your own impulsivity. It's got to do with your own frustration level. Not to say that kids won't keep pushing and pushing and pushing. I mean, I was a master of it. I mean, when I was a kid, it was a real toe-to-toe. My mother, she didn't back down, and she taught me not to back down. And so she would send me to my room as a punishment, and I would find stuff to do in my room. She took my toys. I would get a piece of paper and cut out toys and color them and make toys. So she'd come in, what the hell are you doing? I'm playing, give me those things. No, I'm in my room. You said I could do anything in my room. This is my punishment. Out of my room. And she would back off and go out of the room. And so damn kid, I can't get him, I'm trying to get him, but I can't get him. He likes being in the room, So, I mean, and most kids are that way. You send kids to the room in 2020, they got a phone in there, they got Wi-Fi in there, they got a computer in there. That's not a punishment, You really have to disable all electronics and basically tie them down to the bed before you're going to get anything that approaches a learning lesson. And that's most of the things, is that if you parent correctly with this, I've tried everything. When you find something that works, you stick with it. You stick with it until they figure it out and they defeat it, and then you come up with another one. Well, and along the same lines.
And as a parent, we have to remember that we are the one in control, and that doesn't mean that we are abusively in control, but it is our word. Right. And we are teaching our children, hopefully, how to be good model adults as they get older.
And one other guidepost is don't use other houses.
Oh, absolutely.
Don't, well, Mrs. Flanagan, because then you're opening them up. Yeah, well, that kid's crazy, no wonder, you open it up to, well, I don't know, I don't have enough support, so I'm now looking outside the house for support for what goes on inside this house. And that's absolutely dead 100% wrong. The authority in your house, you can be a religious person and have religious rules in your house that other houses don't have. And so, sorry, this is our house. This is the way it is in our house. And you will learn to live by our rules because you're our child in our house. So forget this stuff about what's going on down the block.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Question number 2. I'm a single mom. I have 2 children, 5 and 7. My mom helps every day as she comes over to the house, I would imagine, and undermines everything I do. My kids no longer listen to me and want to live with grandma.
Well, grandmas are supposed to be the good people.
Well, you have folklore that says grandmas are able to spoil children,
Right.
right? They don't have to do the heavy lifting anymore. They don't have to do the discipline. They don't have to do that. That's if they play the role of grandma, which shows up every once in a while and spoils the kid. But if grandma is now mom, now you got a problem. Because grandma stepped over her line. She's not acting as grandma. Or if she's a full-time grandma, she's now competing with mom for the rules.
Right.
And what if they disagree? Which one do you think the kid is going to pick?
Oh, obviously it's going to be grandma because
It's going to be the easiest one.
it's Disney.
Could be the other way around. You know, a kid with mom goes to visit grandma, and grandma says this chocolate is okay, and mom at grandma's house says no, it's not. And so then grandma and mom set up the battle. Now, which, right? The kid gets a choice. I want grandma. Grandma, why don't you go home? So what do you do when you have this problem? What do you have when mother says the kids now want to go live with grandma? Well, why is grandma in the house every day? Chances are the mom is working. And grandma, for financial reasons, whatever, or family or social reasons or familial reasons, we only raise our kids. We don't let strangers raise our kids. So grandma comes in. So you have a choice here. You sit grandma down and you say, you're grandma. You're not mom. You're in my house, and these are the rules in my house. Agree with them, not agree with them, but there's consequences if you don't go by the rules that we have set up. You will not be in the position anymore. I will have to get another childcare. It might be financially hard for me. I may ask you to pay for it. But we have to do something here because we can't have two sets of rules. Can't have a child saying, I want to take the easy way because grandma's nicer and gives me whatever I want. That's, look in the manual. Here's the book. This is called How to Spoil Your Child. Chapter 1, give them what they want all the time. Have no consequences for their neediness. Never say no. So you start doing that, you've set up a dichotomy where mom's rules might be fine, they might not be fine. But certainly grandma undermining mom is not helpful to the child. And so the focus then is not on grandma or mom. The focus of the discussion is about the child.
Okay.
Where the lines are clear. There is the house rules that when your babysitter comes in the house, most parents, when they go out, they give the babysitter the rules. He's not allowed TV. He's not allowed this. He's got to be in bed by 9. Don't feed him once he gets into bed. It's a stall, you know, blah, blah, blah. And you go through the whole set of rules. So the same is for grandma. Grandma, you want to be with him? And she can say, your mother says you can't have this. I'm following her rules. Sorry. Talk to your mother. Take yourself out of the position.
Sure.
Now, if there's a conflict between the grandmother and the mother thinks her way is better and she's not going to listen, then you don't put her in charge of your kids. Simple as that.
Well, I had a wonderful mother-in-law who would help me out with my son. My husband and I, we both traveled for business. So I was traveling 1 week, home a week. He would go out and travel and home a week. And so she was more helpful when I was out of town because she knew that her son was, I'm not going to say he wasn't capable of taking care of his kid, but he became a kid taking care of his kid. And so we had a very good relationship. She understood that as much as she wanted to spoil her grandchild, it was important for her to sort of be the lead. and she actually re-raised her son at the same time,
Mm,
which was wonderful. But it takes conversation, and most of us don't want to have that conversation, I think.
yeah. I had a family that had three sons, and the father was a total jock, athletic, everything. The boys were roughhousing with him all the time. Sitting down to read was just not something that they did. They always had a ball in hand. They played hockey in the living room. They jumped on the couch. They played horse. They did everything. And the mother was relegated to a background food provider. And when the kids started to do it in school, they were referred to me because the out of home, even though the parent wasn't there during the day, the kids adopted his rules and refused to listen to mom's rules.
Got it.
And when he came home, he said, they're boys. What do you expect? So there was this absolute, no support for her. And she eventually got, very depressed and started to act out because she had no support anywhere. And here the kids were running her. And a lot of times in the house, when these two themes that we're talking about today is consistency with parents, what you get, what therapists call is an inverted hierarchy, where you have, usually the parents are up here and the kids are here and the rules come down. But when you have an inverted hierarchy, the kids are running the show. And when you have the kids running the show, the analogy I use to the parents is, okay, you're now sitting in the back seat of the car and the kids are driving. How do you feel?
Not too secure.
Well, that's where you're headed. There's going to be a crash. Because the kids belong in the back seat and you belong at the wheel. And if you're not doing that, you've lost control of your house, and that's the last thing you want to have.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Question number 3. My history is I fall completely in love and we have a great 6 months and then it just fades. Why every time the same thing?
I hope you have some good answers there.
Well, you got one?
Well, I think a lot of people, and I don't know what the age of this person is, but I think a lot of people think falling in love has to be all roses and butterflies. And once things become normalized, they feel like, oh, there's no more love there. Um, and I've seen that, especially among young people today, that they wanted to continue. In fact, my youngest son one day said to my husband and I, some days you look like you're really in love, and other days you look like you're putting up with each other. And I said, we're living life normally. Every day is not going to be a perfect day. And if I had gone into a relationship believing that everything was always going to, make me feel head over heels in love, I think I would have been disappointed very early on.
Yeah. Well, here you have, a lot of patients came in with this problem, stated various different ways, but it's always, the serial guy who finds the perfect girl and he's all in love with her and whatever, and then, I don't know now, she's got this and she's got that, and there's doubt creeps in. So there's a deeply psychological answer to this. This is, when people first meet, most of this is not love. They call it love. It's pheromones. It's a visceral attraction to one another. It's a chemical reaction to one another, fueled by unwanted and unneeded or unfulfilled fantasy. Which happens is you then project that onto that person. Here's the person I have been looking for. They're smart, they're intelligent, they're caring, they're this, they're that. Everything is perfect. And of course, new relationship, the sexual attraction is strong. There's a lot of heat going on. So a lot of this is really heat.
Okay.
And after time, familiarity, it's not new anymore. There's some degree of change, which it should be. I mean, if people are making love every day, they're not going to do that for the rest of their life. They'll never walk again. You know, I mean, you got to slow down a little. And then, you know, after a while, there's a pattern and it goes into a normal range, you know. So what's happening here is when you project your fantasy of what you need onto someone else, initially, that's all you're seeing. It's your own wish fulfillment. It really doesn't have to do with them at all. It has to do with you and your own needs, and you're meeting your own needs by using another person. After a while, you start to see the other person. There's an object reality that this person is not perfect. Either are you. And both start to see that. So there's a natural, oh, we're changing. It's actually a good thing, but people don't perceive it as that. They perceive it as a loss of intensity. And I say to them, well, what are you replacing the heat with? There's a trade-off. Love you don't get the first day. If you call in that love, then you need a new vocabulary lesson because that's heat. Love takes a long time. You can care for somebody, but to love them, it's a full commitment. So as the heat diminishes, the love should increase. And then the relationship is able to change because it's built on mutual respect, admiration, caring, sensitivity, you know, where you learn, where you feel better giving than receiving. And those relationships tend to work better, where two givers fight to see who's giving more rather than two takers looking to see what they didn't get.
Yeah.
So when people say that to me, they come in, oh, I've met him. Oh, he's the man of my dreams. I knew it the minute okay, yeah, right. Well, let's plan for 6 months from now. When you start to see who they really are, like everybody else, like when you've had this experience before, what did you notice in the last relationship at 5 or 6 months that you didn't notice in the beginning? Well, that's the same thing's going to happen now. And that's a sign of good reality testing. It means you're no longer projecting everything that you want and need on. Should this person be responsible for everything in your life? Shouldn't you have, you know, work and children and friends and activities and communities? Shouldn't you have a lot of needs that need to be met? And shouldn't you be giving in lots of different areas rather than, you know, one person? So after a while, the successful people have been able to have a better self-esteem value where they maintain their own self-esteem and they don't hold the other person to an unrealistic ideal. So that when they start to see them as who they really are, then you say to them, do you like that person? Is that person someone that you respect? Maybe you thought that they were somebody who never had an argument with you, and you find out 5 months later is that she was on good behavior. She wasn't trying to create any storms. She said, I've lost so many relationships, I'm going to go along with this one, and I'm not going to say what I really think I should say. And then at some point, they start to talk. You know, I'm reminded of my mother, who thought I was the greatest kid in the world until I started to talk. She said, and then you didn't listen. You know, like my problem was I had my own mind and I thought and I didn't listen. Well, that's what happens in relationships. People take a while to be able to say, well, I was depressed and frightened. I had a real bad relationship and I didn't want to do anything to disturb the homeostasis that we had. But now I'm feeling secure enough, so let me tell you about what bothers me about you. Oh, there's things that bother me about you? Yeah, well, I hadn't told you. Oh, and now you have to hear what you're doing that you thought was perfect. Now you're getting absolute reality feedback, which is a good thing. And a lot of people, that's the killer. When they start to see how they're coming across, and they're not the Sir Lancelot on the white horse, they leave. And there's your 5-6 months why it fades and why it continues to fade. So the idea here to understand it, it's heat and pheromones and people on good behavior and people not seeing who the other person is because they don't have to. Their needs are already being met.
Well, you know, it's interesting because my husband and I have been together 36 years, married 36 years. We've known each other 38. Um, and right around the 30th year of marriage, um, I was going through a struggle. It really had nothing to do with him, but I thought it did. And so I approached him one day and I said, I know I love you, but I don't like you. And I don't know if this is the best relationship for us. And it was that conversation that, as we both had it together, I realized it wasn't about him. I didn't like me at the time. I was going through some very stressful things in corporate America, and I was changing. And he was going along with the changes because he loved me and liked me. And when I realized I didn't like what I was going through and we could talk it out, our relationship became better than it ever was before. So in the beginning, I was afraid to talk. But I finally, woke up one morning and said, I have nothing to lose because I'm unhappy. And so glad we did talk because I come from a generation where I could have just continued being unhappy the rest of my life. So
my guideline to couples, when they, we get along, we don't fight, and I said, what are you doing here then? And I said, look, the toughest time to bring up difficult issue is when you're getting along. Because who wants to throw cold water on things that are going well? I said, but think about it. You're going to wait till you're not doing well, and then you're going to add fuel to the fire. Be smart about it. Talk at the right time. When your relationship is stable, you'll be able to hear it a lot better than when you're able to hear it when it's not.
Right.
Because the tendency in people is to blame the other partner first before they hear what they have to say. But while they're hearing what they have to say, they've already negated it in their mind, and they're coming up with their answer rather than hearing the whole question. So I used to make people listen, can't talk until you've heard what she had to say, and then you repeat it out loud what you heard her say.
Interesting. Okay.
And then she can say, I know what I said to you. I said this, and this is what you said to me. And I said, okay, were there any corrections before we move on? Was there any corrections in what one person heard? Yeah, well, he didn't hear what I said about, I wasn't criticizing his mother, I was describing her. And she's this, and this to everybody, not just him. Okay. And then when you get an agreement, then you can move on to the next statement. So you make them listen. And I taught them that the best time to do it is when you're getting along and following these guidelines. Don't react because I don't know what you're reacting to. I want you to tell me what you heard, and then I can understand your reaction.
Interesting.
And that's really just good communication. And good communication should be part of the relationship at all times. And it's especially better when the relationship is stable to bring up stuff that you need to bring up. I need to talk to you about this. Can we sit down and have a conversation? I want to present this idea to you. Yeah, I know you hate the shore, but here's the reason I want to go down there this summer. Blah, blah, blah. So you acknowledge and you bring up and you make your case.
Great way to have a conversation about anything, to be honest.
Yeah. And once people to learn to talk, they never have the downtime, pour the acid on the fire discussion because it never zooms out of control. You know, I used to tell them, here's the line for the relationship. Every relationship has a border. And if you're speaking down here within the border, you're already protecting, you're having a conversation within a relationship. There it goes. And I turned the volume down. I absolutely turned the volume down. But it's a call from outside. So, where was it?
Relationship. So if they're talking below the line.
Below the line. So when you're talking below the line, you're within the context of your relationship having a discussion. When you are having a fight and you're apart, you're now talking about the relationship itself. Because any item, well, I don't know if I want this relationship anymore. The conversation becomes about the relationship. That's a very different conversation. That's a much more scary conversation. People are listening like this when, you know, I don't know what he's going to say next. There's an anxiety, which isn't good. You shouldn't have a lot of anxiety in a conversation. You should try to keep it as calm as possible. Take it slow and bring up one subject at a time.
Well, and that's about communicating right from the beginning.
Yeah.
So hopefully.
Okay. So that's about hormones and heat and discussions. Man writes it. It's good to hear from a man. My wife is nervous and fearful of everything that could go wrong with our 5-month-old, who is healthy. How do I stop fighting with her?
Well, the first thing is you have to be aware that her feelings are real. Okay. They're based on something. And it's, you know, again, trying to have that conversation and helping her work through it, or getting her the assistance that she may need if you're not able to do that. But her feelings are real.
Okay. So trying to talk someone rationally out of a fear, what do you think the success rate is?
I'm not saying talk them out of the fear. Okay.
No, well, that's what he wants to do. He said, I got to stop fighting with her. How do I stop fighting with her?
Then you have to talk to her about the fear and understand the fear.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So most guys, what they do, he's talking about fighting. In other words, he's disagreeing. He's trying to talk her out of the fear, and they're fighting about it because she's holding on to the fear. Fear is not amenable to rationality.
Right.
Fear is an emotionally based response. So how do you get someone to be calm and give up her fear?
She may not ever really give it up, but if you become aware of it and help her and understand where she's coming from. Okay. I have a fear of driving over bridges. Terrible fear. Okay. Whether I'm driving or somebody else is driving, I'll hold my breath. And my husband doesn't tell me to, if he gives me a route to go someplace, he'll give me 2 routes. One is going over the bridge, one is going the back roads. And he doesn't argue with me for going the back roads. If you're more comfortable, take the back roads. So whatever her fear is about her child or whatever, there's got to be some sort of conversation that you can have. And if that were to happen, what can we do about it?
So there are levels of fear. There is the normal fear that a child will get sick. There's a normal fear that a child will get hurt. There are things that parents can do to minimize the possibility of a child getting hurt. So there are people that have irrational fears that are basically not based in this man's world. The space invaders are coming, and we have to put aluminum foil on the roof to protect ourselves. So you have to know what kind of fear you're dealing with. Now, is this a normal maternal fear as a 5-month-old? Is this the first child? My guess would be it probably is. Now we got COVID out there. So add a first-time mother with COVID with an infant that your job is to protect. And now you want to talk her out of how she feels. You got an impossible task.
Right.
Its only solution is when she sees that she's excessive, that she sees she's driving herself crazy with the over emphasis on insecurity and danger, that her world, as she sees it, her perception is the world is a very dangerous place every day. And her job is to clear away all the danger. Well, that's exhausting. Nobody raises their fourth child like they raised their first. They realize, they get sick, they can fall down, they put a Band-Aid on it. You know, you don't rush to the doctor because they scraped the knee. So there are things in the real world that intervene to say, is the fear within normal range? Is this a normal and acceptable fear? And what can we do about it? What about using the analogy of a swimming pool? How many people climbed up the ladder, got on the diving board, and didn't dive, and then had to climb down and back down the ladder with the humiliation and everybody laughing at you and everybody making fun of you because your fear was you're going to die, you're going to drown, whatever it was, whatever it was. At some point you say, well, your first dive shouldn't be from the diving board. Your first dive should be from the flat ground. Just jump in the pool. Hold your nose and jump in the pool and then see if you come up. At some point, they jump. And once they realize that they made it, now they jump again. So now you go to the 1-foot ladder. And you jump off the 1-foot ladder and you find out you're okay. And you slowly increase your control over the environment so that it's not a total emotionally overwhelming blast. You've taken it step by step. How do you teach a kid to ride a bike? Most parents run along and hold on to the bike with the kid, or they get the training wheels. Now, at some point, the training wheels become a problem. If you know how to ride a bike and you're trying to make a turn, you can't make a turn with training wheels on, because training wheels interfere with the natural centrifugal force of a turn. So at some point, to help the child, you have to take the training wheels off. Just like if you broke your leg and you need a crutch. You're walking with the crutch. And after a while, you realize your foot's going and the crutch is coming, whoops, I don't need the crutch anymore because I'm actually behind my foot now with the crutch. So you have to throw away your crutch. Well, that's the pattern to how to get over overwhelming anxiety, is that you take it step by step and the person learns mastery. They learn that they can control their fear. And actually, if they do it successfully, the fear goes away. What about if I leave the house and I walk 2 blocks, I'm going to get lost? Same fear. I don't want to go outside. I'm going to get lost. You've globalized outside. Well, what if you went outside and you went 30 feet? Then you came back. You know the house was 30 feet away. What if you went 60 feet? Then you come back. Oh, here's 30 feet. I know 30 feet. That's where the house is. Now it's only 30 feet from where I know the house is. Now I go to the corner. Now, if I go down the corner and I turn right, well, I got to remember that if I come back here, I can still see the 60 feet. I can see the 30 feet. I can see the house. So I've built a security path. Now, as I extend it, I can go this way. Go out of the house and go this way until I make a block. And I know everything along that block because all that block connects to my block. And you add another block. Well, this is the same type of block. I can just repeat it. Repeat it once, repeat it twice. Before you know it, you're 6 blocks away and you're okay. So it's the same way. That's learning how to overcome what is your view, which is a globalized kind of, oh my God, the sky is falling response. Well, not everything is the sky is falling. So when someone's is dealing with it, you have to acknowledge the fear, just like you said. I know you're frightened, but I live here and I'm not. And we have a healthy child after 5 months. Now, what if I was in charge? What if I made up the rules and you didn't? I took care of the safety issues with the child. You take care of the feeding and the nurturing. I'll take care of the safety. And we'll see how I do. After a week, we'll see if he's still okay with my rules. You're going to have to learn that not everything you feel is in proportion to the danger. That maybe you're now over here as a worrisome person. And we just want to get you back to here where you're just merely overprotective. From overprotective, we're going to get you down to protective. And that's your role. But you've adopted not overprotective, you've adopted out of the box protective. And you're responding, you're making yourself nervous, and your nervousness is bringing you back to this. You're relating to this all the time. We're trying to get you back to here. So once they recognize that I could do better, I'm too worried, I don't need to take his temperature 4 times a day. He's just sleeping. You don't have to wake him up to see if he's dead. But he's been sleeping for 4 hours, he's not moving. That's what people do when they sleep. Right? Because he cried, that doesn't mean you have to change a diaper. That doesn't mean you have to feed him. It's just a growing pain. So a healthy child is normative behavior in terms of parental guidelines for what's safe and what's over safe, what's super safe, and what's out of your mind safe. So the idea is to get her to see where she is on the continuum. You never use right or wrong or good and bad. You just say, there are people over here that are so negligent, they don't see any danger with their kid. Oh, kid will be all right. And then there are people over here, oh my God, he's going to fall. So where are you on the scale? You have her identify where she is on the scale and then say, if you could move a step, would you move to be more nervous or would you like to be less nervous? Okay, well, this is what you'd have to do. You would have to say, I am not going to wake him up. Maybe I'll sit here for a while and see if he moves. Once he moves, I can leave. You do that a couple times and say, he's going to move. He's okay. Airways are not blocked. Color is normal. He's fine. This is called sleep. This isn't death. So, we used to joke. We used to say, well, we go in and see the blue baby, Well, if you don't have a blue baby, you're okay. The only time you got to worry is when you got a blue baby.
But it's that acknowledgement of that what you're feeling is real for you right now.
Right. Yeah.
We're going to be able to help you move through this because
I think COVID is a great example. In New York back in March, when it first hit here, they told you don't go outside. Dangerous to go outside. We didn't know enough about COVID. People thought it was generally in the air outside. With no other people around, you could still get it. And so every person that you saw on the street was a potential enemy, a danger. And people reacted to other people on the street like they were a danger. After a while, we figured out, no, it's not in the air generally. It's only in the near vicinity. And you have to be really in front of somebody for an extended period of time without a mask in order to have it transmit. So all of a sudden, strangers out in the street, no longer, here we are 6 months later, people walk in the street all the time. They have a mask on, they pass people, they don't experience panic. Now, how did they get from that's a danger and I can die to 6 months is I can't die from that? There's a learning curve where you take off the danger out of what you perceive. And it starts with a perception. So now it comes down to the only people that are responding that way is that when you respond, when you see an unmasked person. Because the general rules are 2 masks, you're not going to get it. 1 mask, you have a minor chance of getting it. 2 masks, you have almost 0 if you're not exposed directly in front of one another. So the same thing is if this mom was 6 months ago, where she saw everything as danger, there is a way to get her to be seeing that not everything is a danger. There is a normative process of learning, and you don't have to be afraid of that. I mean, people were spraying everything that came into the house and made people put on slippers over shoes, made, I mean, everything because they're in my house. They've contaminated my space. I'm unsafe in my own house. And anxiety levels went sky high. Well, people come in all the time now. And we're not as panicky and as afraid as we were. Right. The same thing with her. She will learn that no matter what she thinks, she doesn't have to do as much to protect this child. And then the reality is little kids that age don't get COVID.
Yeah.
They got their own immunity system. And if they get it, the pediatrician that we talked to said, yeah, I probably have a night of diarrhea, and that'll be it. But you can't tell someone who is in panic mode.
Right.
You have to get them down into regular. And if it doesn't work, then maybe they're unable to calm down. And there's many reasons for that. One is that it's their own body. And sometimes medication is needed, just to interrupt the cycle.
Sure.
To show them that they can be calm. You can, people have panic attacks or people have a presentation. Normal people working every day have a big presentation. They get nervous, and the more nervous they get, the less their mind works. And they get up in front of the audience and and so medication at that point will just keep them, I got this, I can do this. So that would be the guideline, is to get the anxiety within a certain realm of availability where she's amenable to reasonable thought and experimentation to see if she can reduce her own nervousness, if she wants to. If she doesn't want to, then you have a whole different issue. Then you have someone that's really defending an illness. And that's never a good thing.
Right.
And so you need outside intervention at that point.
I'm glad this husband wrote in. Hopefully he's listening and get the support he needs too.
And my final question, why do you think the divorce rate keeps going up in the USA? It's now over 50%.
Do we mean just because of COVID, or it's just going up?
No, just not to do with COVID. It says the divorce rate keeps going up. It's now over 50% of marriages that take place. The predicted divorce rate for people getting married this year would be over 50%.
We're a throwaway society, and I see it all the time. When my husband and I celebrated our 36th wedding anniversary, to be honest, we don't celebrate like some people. We don't have to go to a fancy dinner. He doesn't have to give me flowers, presents. We just celebrate the fact that, hey, we made it another year.
Yeah.
But I've had friends say to me, like, don't you get tired of each other? And the answer is, yeah, we do. And then we find ways to come back and renew those.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people out there that think that as soon as I get tired of whatever my situation is, my job, my children, my husband, my house, I'm just going to move on.
And I have an overall view that what's changed in our lives is the media. We are exposed to 200 channels now. You can watch a movie about anything at any time on TV, on the streaming networks, on your computer, on your phone. There is so much information out there that people see so many examples of people moving on, changing. Life is a flux. Nothing is permanent. The decision you made at 18 doesn't apply at 28. The one you made at 28 doesn't apply at 48. There's a lot of reasons and so much of choices that people see other people succeeding. They see other people having what they want. And so they have, with the lessening of religious rules, the lessening of community values being the strongest, urban values, people living in an apartment with 2,000, 3,000 people in their building is a lot different than living in a small town with one family per house on the block, and everybody goes to the same church or the same synagogue, where there is a uniformity of values. When you get into the big urban environments and the big metropolitan centers, there's no common denominator anymore. It's a free fall. And we've lost our social conscience, one that crosses all religions, crosses all beliefs. That is a general thing called for the better good. And for the better good, if we had a stronger one, there would be much more reliance on family and community, which is the pillar of society, in my view. And without that, we're all kind of adrift. And America is a consumer-oriented, bigger, better, faster, quicker. And look at the size of our dumps.
Yeah.
I mean, that's who we are. Your TV works, but it doesn't have Blu-ray, blah, blah, blah. So you need to throw away the one you have and get the better one. And this wife, well, you know, she gets anxiety and depression and stuff. So I can get one over here, and I can trade that one in and get one that's a little bit better. And she said, yeah, well, you ought to see the trade I'm going to make.
Well, you know, like I said when we began this question, you know, we are such a throwaway society. We don't look at how we can recultivate ourselves. My sister-in-law a couple years ago started talking to me about the fact that she has a compost area in her backyard. And I said, well, I live in a condo. I can't do that. And she said, you still can. Maybe not a whole compost area, but there are certain things that you can compost and you can recultivate things. And I thought about it and I started doing that. And I will tell you, my garden has never looked any better than it does now because, you know, all my coffee grounds, tea grounds, they're really making my plants look beautiful. But I've taken that same concept and used it for myself. How can I repurpose myself? How can I be as good, if not better, than I was yesterday? And the same thing with my relationship.
Yeah. So we're getting the recycled Karen. That's
yes, yes, we definitely are. And you know, I don't believe in changing your spouse, but I believe that you can share things with your spouse that they will see the advantage of
right.
those changes are. I mean, I don't have to say to him, hey, I think it's time for you to lose weight. You know, he sees me working on it and it's like, okay, I'll go along for the journey. And
Right.
if he chose not to, you know what? I would love them anyways.
Right.
So I don't think we should throw anything away. I think we should recultivate it.
Yeah, I mean, if you look in the Jewish religion, you need permission from somebody in the community to get a divorce.
Right. Yes.
I mean, it's outside the house that's saying, no, you stay with it and find another way. There's help within the community. There's counseling. There's this, there's that. Problem support groups, etc. There's a lot of things you can do rather than just, pull the trigger.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so glad
Okay.
people who wrote in today. I certainly learned a lot. I'm hoping our listeners did. And we're going to go to an every other week format.
Yeah, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Okay. You have a great day. Stay safe and enjoy the beautiful fall weather.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Ken.